They travel at speeds pushing 200 miles per hour. The very best drivers in the world putting their lives on the line every week. It's time to get the lowdown on this week's contenders, plus a look at the key driver matchups. Right now on Gone Racin.
And welcome everybody to the fabulous VSiN studio at the South Point. I am your host, Brendan Gaughan, today, and normally it's with my friend Jeff Motley, but today I had to call the big guns, baby. My main man, Mr. Vinny Magliulo, the most famous man left in the building because Jimmy Vaccaro once again has retired for another month. Vinny, welcome back into Gone Racin. I appreciate when you can pinch hit for me.
Always good to be with you, Brendan. The joy. I hope Jeff is having a good little respite. But anytime I have a chance to be with you and Jeff, I always welcome the opportunity, buddy.
We always laugh. Jeff calls in multiple people, and I'm like, no. I call one. I call my main man. And as we mentioned, if you're a VSiN fan, you'd all know that Jimmy, our always lovely white-shirted Jimmy Vaccaro. It's kind of a running joke. We have squares. If you know anybody at the book, go ahead. There's squares open when Jimmy will be back.
Yeah.
I picked my square just now. I think I'm pretty.
It's within a month, right?
Well, it'll be over a month. It'll be less than.
Okay.
Got to check when football season starts. Just got to check football.
Don't even go beyond the kickoff. Don't go beyond kickoff, folks. For those of you out there thinking about it.
Well, getting back to what we talk about here on Gone Racin, of course, is the NASCAR season, and we had our race at Nashville, which amazing race. A little storm in the middle of it, kind of hurt TV ratings, but a great race at Nashville this weekend. It was a lot of fun to watch, and a lot of names Jeff and I talked about last weekend. Showed why we've been talking about them. And you and I were talking before the show. There's a name that you weren't familiar with that you've become familiar with this year a lot, and that's the name of Ross Chastain. Another good run for him with a top 5. But a lot of new names. You've noticed that this new car, a lot of new names popping up this season.
It's a great point, Brendan. I have to tell you, you pay attention to every sport to rookies and the progress of the young players, right? I mean, if you look in baseball, Mike Trout, what he's done over the last few years, right? And was he odds on to be a rookie of the year when he came up? Absolutely, he was one of the shorter prices. But now it's about MVP, and he's at the top of the list. Him and Shohei Ohtani are at the top of the list for the last couple of years. I use that analogy if you look at, say, a Ross Chastain, who finished, another top 5 finish last week. It wasn't so long ago where this young man was a long shot in our future books, and we put up a future book every week, and of course then we adjust the
long shot weekly and future. He was long.
He was 100-1 to win this year's championship. He's down to 10-1. But when you look at his odds, that last week. Ross Chastain was down. He's down to single digits on a pretty regular basis, and it wasn't so long ago. Even go back to last year, he was 40-1. He was, but you see the ascension of this young driver, and he's just one example. But because he's also right up there in the points, he had the points lead going into last week, and so you want to pay attention to that. As a bettor, obviously, and again, I've always said every time I come on with you and Jeff here on Gone Racing, you know what? NASCAR bettors are as educated and sharp as any bettors out there.
We talk about that, and that's you're an odds maker. You are a bookmaker.
I have to pay attention to it.
You do what this is, and what me and Jeff have said this year is it's been tough to handicap this year, and you can see it by the odds that DraftKings puts up, by the odds you guys put up, by the odds that we get from Westgate. It's difficult for you guys now because you had a Ross Chastain who 30, 40, 50-1 to start the season to win races.
Right.
That all of a sudden, he won a couple. He's down to 15s, 12s. Where do we put him? He reels off a couple. It's been a tough season for the odds makers with this new car this year.
No question. And here's the greatest way you could tell. And it's full disclosure, right? Again, and this is out of results and respect for the bettors. And the thing is this: we used to have on a regular basis, Brendan, 100-1 drivers on a weekly basis. I'm talking about 100-1, triple-digit odds. You can't do that anymore because everybody's alive. Now, I guess you could if you put up the entire field, but we do put up a field every week, and it includes a good chunk of drivers. But when you've got the long shots now in the 40 to 60-1 range on a weekly basis, that speaks to the success that the bettors have had, and you have to pay attention and be respectful of their of the way they're handicapping.
Can't lose too much. Don't want to lose too much money on it. Well, speaking of the odds to win this weekend, Chase Elliott, of course, was our winner at Nashville. A heck of a battle right there at the end with Kyle Busch. And to win the race, he was plus 800, so decent little return there. I know somebody that might have bet it in the Gone Racing pool that we do. I'm not saying who it was, just,
Somebody in the studio right
crawling
now,
my way out of the basement. Top three, he was a plus 230. He had a couple head-to-heads. He was minus 120s with Joey Logano and Martin Truex. He was Group B co-favorite at plus 270, and he was the top Chevy at 450. So Chase Elliott, had a good return to win. And I said last week how he had run so well the year before and had that problem near the end, and so he didn't win it. So it kind of foreshadowed that. He did well for me. If you look at the top 10, no double digits this week. Me and Motley, we had a string of about 5-6 races in a row where we had double-digit top 10 guys. None this week. Kurt Busch was plus 700 for second. Ryan Blaney was plus 330 for third. But once again, you go down the list and look at some of these names. Ross Chastain. You got Austin Cindric in there. Christopher Bell, once again, with a top 10 names that we are getting more and more accustomed to seeing in that top 10. Great day for Austin Cindric, too. The other thing we talked about, though, was I spent a lot of time last week talking about Fords and Toyotas. They've been focusing on Phoenix, focusing on tracks like this. Chase Elliott, of course, won. But the Toyotas and the Fords, look at that top 10. Toyota in second, Ford, then a Chevy, then Toyota, Ford. So a lot of Fords and Chevys in that top 10, and I think that's going to bode well down the road when we get to the championship race, of course, Phoenix, if they can make it to that round.
That's a great point that you bring up, and I also want to point out from our side of the counter, having to pay attention to all aspects of it. It's not just about the drivers.
I said, NASCAR bettors understand. They know the different types of tracks and all of it.
I will tell you, I'll never forget the first race that was here, Brendan, back in the 90s when the first NASCAR race that came to Las Vegas, and the breaking down that bettors had of their selections, talking about everything, not just about the drivers. And it wasn't almost as though the drivers were an afterthought. What impressed me was how they were talking about the teams. They knew who the crew chief was, and any changes within that particular team.
Tire changer was
about
different.
carburetor, about the carburetor and the adjustments that were made, tires and the pit stop strategies that
there weren't many bettors, but the ones that were there,
I will tell you this,
knew what they were doing.
I was thinking, my God, these are folks that we're used to hearing so much about offensive coordinators and offensive schemes and defensive coordinators and what type of defenses and things like that, 3-4s and 4-3s, all kind. But I'll tell you what, it was very impressive, and it's become more of a situation from our side of the counter. We've got to pay attention, not just to the drivers, but again, the teams. Players that are drivers that are changing teams and things like that, and the impact of that. So a lot of different aspects of it. I did want to ask you, like with the 2 lightning delays last week, as a driver, how does that impact? Because he had a lead with 30. I want to say he took the lead with like 38, less than 40.
60 to go when they had the last lightning strike or something. It's tough. As a driver, you get into your gig, and then all of a sudden you got to pull right back out. But that's the one thing that's different about our sport than any other is the ability that you have to go now. I remember having some of my basketball buddies from the NBA days come to races, and before the race, I'm hanging out with them. I'm giving them hugs right in front of the race car. I got sponsors we're taking pictures with, and then they're like, dude, how do you do that? Before a game, we're hidden away. Nobody gets near us. Nobody's
Right.
And next thing you know, I'm like from that to in the car, go. And I go, look, that's what we do that's different. And it's the lightning delays are the same thing. You go sit down, go hang out with your team, and then when NASCAR says get back to your cars, it's time to get back in and time to go. So it's interesting, but it's what we do. We also had a couple props from last week. Yep. We had Chase Elliott was your top Chevy at plus 450, and he won the race. Kurt Busch, top Toyota at plus 800. Good return. Only 6 Toyotas out there, so always a good return if you pick the Christopher Bell, Kurt Busch, or Bubba Wallace. And then top Ford, Ryan Blaney, was the plus 240. Decent returns on Kurt at least, and that's why we always talk. It's easiest to, kind of most fun to pick the Toyotas because you got a good return. You look at the NASCAR standings, as you mentioned at the top, Ross Chastain was the points leader coming into the race. With Chase Elliott's win, he catapulted above him. But still, I don't know if we're going to get to the 16, 17 winners like we've talked. It's getting closer and closer. Still a lot of big names that haven't won. Look at the outside. Eric Almirola and Kevin Harvick crawled his way back into the top 16, but one other win by somebody outside of that top 16, that puts Kevin back down. A lot of guys. Ryan Blaney without a win. Martin Truex without a win. Christopher Bell, Kevin Harvick, there's still a lot of guys that have not won a race this year.
I think, and if I look at that list there, to me, I think the biggest surprise is probably Kevin Harvick, right? I mean, when you think about it, and where he's really, right at the cutoff line. I mean, I know there's obviously still time to go, and he can get hot and things like that.
But it's been almost 2 years now since he's won.
Yeah. So here was a guy, a couple of years ago who was on a great ascension.
The top three.
And just so consistent. But it just goes to show you how you want to follow all aspects of it. And I think there's a correlation, too, between when you're making selections and when a lot of folks are making selections between the cars and the teams. And when you're making bets, if you like a Chase Elliott, you're also you're going to go with the you're going to follow and have a correlation. Just like you would if you like a favorite in a football game, you're probably going to lean towards the over. If you like an underdog, you're going to lean towards the under. So I think there's certain correlations here that folks are going to pay attention to as well.
Oh, absolutely. Next couple races before we get to talking about this one, the Kwik Trip 250 at Elkhart Lake, one of my favorite races in the world. Then we go back to that new pseudo super speedway race at Atlanta. Foxwoods Resort Casino 301 at Loudon. M&M's Fan Appreciation 400 at Pocono. And then the road course at Indianapolis, the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard. Next couple ones. Last year was our first race at Road America. First race since 1956 in Cup. Love that track. Amazing deal. Chase Elliott won the race, and we all kind of saw that coming. He won his road course in last couple years. He has been the dominant figure on road racing. So really excited that they're going back this year. And Motley, hi Motley, and Vinny, it's fun watching the road races, but Road America, I got a lot of good memories there.
Well, I know you spent some time up there. I know you have some casino memories as well.
Yeah, we have some of those too.
If I recall.
That's a different show. All right, guys, when we come back, we're going to start talking about that Kwik Trip 300 when we return. Welcome back into Gone Racing, everybody. Brendan Gaughan, Mr. Vincent Magliulo hanging out with me. Mr. Motley is on vacation this week and could not get in any way. So Vinny is filling in. And Vinny, we're talking the Kwik Trip 250 at Road America. One of my favorite places in the world is up at Road America. So a lot of great memories there, even before my NASCAR wins. And let's get right into these odds, man. We got some good numbers. I can't believe Chase Elliott is as high as he is as the favorite this week with what he's done the last bunch of years. But Chase Elliott is plus 500. Kyle Larson is 7. Ross Chastain is out there at 800. Kyle Busch, 900. That's your only single-digit guys. After that, lots of great numbers. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Blaney, Daniel Suarez, all 12-1. Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric, and Joey Logano, 15s. A.J. Allmendinger, 18-1, not full-time, but never bet against A.J. Allmendinger, man. It's a road course. He's always there to do some damage. Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, William Byron, Tyler Reddick at 25s. Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, 30. Chris Buescher, 35. And Michael McDowell on the front page at 50-1 after that solid top 3 finish at Sonoma a couple weeks ago. So, look, a lot of Daniel Suarez. You just talked about how the numbers sway.
Yes.
Daniel Suarez came off of Sonoma with that win at his first career win at Sonoma. Here you go. Now 12-1 at Road America.
Well, no surprise, right, with Chase Elliott, as you mentioned, as the 5-1, the defending champ and what he's done here. But when you start looking at Daniel Suarez at 12-1, you have to. There's a shift, really. When you go back 24 months, okay, there's really a shift in the betting board in a lot of cases. The top is now. I don't want to say at the bottom, but it's in the second half. The second half is now near the top.
Martin Truex was the dominant figure for Chase. Now he's a double-digit 12-1 guy.
So you want to, again, I think, and I think what's fascinating for me as not just an odds maker, but as a fan, it always amazes me, Brendan, about the adjustments that the drivers, you as drivers, have to make because, listen. You go to, there are different dimensions in baseball parks, right? But for the most part, about those. There are nuances there. Basketball courts are the same size, the ice rink, but there's still nuances about every arena, every let's say ballpark. But the tracks, the configuration itself is massively different.
And road course to road course. And I argue a lot that Sonoma, I'm not a big fan of the Sonoma road course because they've NASCARized it. They've made it not a technically sound road course, where Road America is the most technically sound road course left in America. So to me, that's why I look at guys like the guys that have been great here. Chase Elliott's, Chase Elliott's, Kyle Larson's, AJ Allmendinger's, the guys that know how to handle a road course. And there's some guys that were late on that first page there, the Chase Briscoes, the Austin Cindricks, that these are guys that have so much road race experience. You got to go with them. And Michael McDowell, who has a ton of road race experience right there at 50-1. So the nuance is a big deal, especially when you go to a place like Road America, because it's very, very defined there.
It's interesting because right before we came on, I was talking to the staff and we were going over some things and we were looking at the odds and even some of the supervisors, they were noticing, well, how come these odds are so different by driver this week compared to last week? So again, listening to Gone Racing and hanging around with you, I got to know these things and got to know them. Some of these were expensive lessons.
Yes,
for us. But again, you know what? You're creating fans and you're letting folks cash some good
people
tickets.
Gotta cash some tickets.
But you know what? Listen, but I explained to them, it's amazing because of the configuration, the surface, and things like that. These are the things that we've had to learn to pay attention to. We used to, again, I'll go back.
You just
put up numbers, put up a name, and it was all about the name. Oh, it had, again, learn some expensive lessons. Tip our cap to the bettors out there for their expertise.
I'm going to, Daniel Suarez before Sonoma, you weren't here, but with Motley, I poo-pooed Daniel Suarez pretty hard before Sonoma. I was on the Daniel Suarez bandwagon all of 2021. I was going Daniel Suarez. I know what he can do in a race car. I know what he can do at a road course. I'm all on Daniel Suarez. I'm 2021. What did he do on road courses 2021? 33rd, 12th, 36th, 31st, 37th, 13th. And I got crushed on the Daniel Suarez bandwagon. So when we came to Sonoma this year, I go, that's it.
You've had enough.
Until Daniel Suarez shows me something, I'm off the bandwagon. You got to do something, Daniel. And what does he do? I jump off him, and he goes and wins. So I was like, you turkey. I called him and was like, I love you. I hate you and I love you because, he made me look bad there. But there's some numbers here, like I said. You called it right with some of the ways the numbers are flip-flop. Joey Logano, one of our best road course racers. People don't realize Joey, in the last 10 road races, he's the second best point getter. No wins, but 4 top 5s in the last 10 races, second best point getter. And here's a guy 15-1, Joey Logano, to win this race. That's a decent number for a guy that's pretty experienced.
Well, I'm looking at another one with a bit of a price here too. And oftentimes, Brendan, in our world, we talk about value. What do we mean by value? Well, if there is a competitor in whatever the sport, in this case, in the Kwik Trip 250, you've got a driver that's had some success that's good, and it's going to give you a price. So you're looking for a price on it. You mentioned Joey Logano at 15-1. What's wrong with AJ Allmendinger at 18-1?
Nothing.
On this particular
he may not be a full-time driver, but he's AJ Allmendinger at this track.
At this track, so again, double digits there. You mentioned Suarez at 12-1.
You ready for the hidden one in there that nobody's looking at that I want to focus on?
Go ahead.
And I'm going to foreshadow one of my bets.
Go ahead.
Last year in this race, guy led 15 laps, finished first in stage 1, second in stage 2, and with 2 to go, got booted out of the way and ended up finishing in the 30s, 33rd. 25-1 William Byron.
William Byron, 25.
William Byron led this thing, dominated this thing for quite a while, was leading near the end of the race, got pushed out of the way, finished 33rd, 25-1. Byron's back for revenge. Keep an eye on that William Byron number right there. We'll see.
So a little.
We might look at that in the top threes here. Let's do the top threes.
I'm feeling a pick here.
I'm feeling I might be doing something there. Let's go to the top threes now. And the top threes, here's where you can tell that this is, of course, from DraftKings. They're a little nervous on this whole top 3 thing. They're not sure what they're going to do. Almost the entire first page is all single digit. You've got a plus 130 with Chase Elliott, plus 200 at Kyle Larson. Ross Chastain with his recent runs, plus 220. Kyle Busch, 250. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Blaney at 340. Slew at 400. Daniel Suarez, Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric, and Joey Logano. You got Allmendinger alone at 500. Then Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, William Byron, and Tyler Reddick at 700. Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, 800s. And then you got double digits with Chris Buescher at 10-1 and Michael McDowell at 14-1. That goes to show that right there, Mr. Oddsmaker, Mr. Vinny Magliulo sitting in the back making the odds. That's because you're nervous.
Well,
you don't know what's going to happen for the top 3.
It's wide open. I mean, and it's a situation where you've got drivers with success here, or have been very competitive here. They like this track. They like the layout. They like the surface. Again, all those factors that we've been talking about. So, is it about nerve? You're really what you're saying is that there's so many. This race is so wide open that you've got quite a few. You've got probably more. You've got more guys capable of winning this race than many of the other races that we see on the circuit, and it's reflected in the prices.
If you go to the last couple road courses this year, you've got a Michael McDowell with a top 3. You've got a Chris Buescher with a top 3. Those are the last 2 guys on this page at 10 and 14 to 1. I just talked about William Byron. He's 7 to 1. But normally you'll have maybe 8, 9, 10 guys in that single digit.
Yeah.
Then you got some doubles. Here, to me, this screams, hey, we lost some money last time. We're a little nervous. We're tightening down them odds. This is where I, as a bettor, go, come on, Vinny, loosen up. Your book. Take some risk. What, are you afraid?
All right. You see, I love this. I love it when they say you're afraid. Okay, so you tell
Hey,
me you're gonna bet. How many are you gonna bet?
Hey, I'm just saying. I'm not Dad. Dad's the one that's going to yell at you when you lose. I'm the one saying, let's go. I mean, I get to be on both sides. I get to be the guy telling you don't be afraid, and then when we go to the meetings on Tuesday, I get to look at Chris and Jimmy and go, man, what are you doing?
Boy, you guys are in a lot of trouble. What a lot of hot water. But I will tell you this, and again, from our side of the counter, let's remember this. These are starting points here. As money comes in, and everybody thinks that odds just come down.
Nope. Odds go up and
when
down.
we're bookmaking, you have to be fair and make sure that prices go up. Why? Because we want to attract more action on more than one driver. Ultimately, in a future book like this, you've got, it's a lot more, it's a lot, you have a lot more profit in margin in a future book than you do in head-to-heads, let's say. So when you have this, and there are operators out there listening too, if you're prepared to lower prices, make sure you're prepared to raise them as well.
And listen, top 3s.
So you might get a higher price.
We'll get to the second page of top 3s here because there are some guys that, Cole Custer is 25 to 1 and Brad Keselowski is 25 to 1. Brad Keselowski, we poo-poo the RFK team this year, but they've looked pretty good on road courses. Brad's a hell of a road racer. Eric Jones has looked good, 30 to 1. Austin Dillon, his career best finishes the last couple years, 30 to 1. Nowhere near the top 3, but career best finishes. Eric Almirola, 60. Justin Haley, 60. That's A.J. Allmendinger's teammate. Yeah. So, there's some numbers. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I mean, there's numbers that want to entice you on the second page. But that's why they're still pretty tight for top 3s, really, if you look at it. I mean, pretty tight when you're talking Eric Jones 30 to 1. That's still a pretty low number.
So you want Eric Jones to be higher?
I'm just saying.
Then if I were you, I'd wait till we get closer to race time.
And remember, we do this show on Thursdays. That's one of the things Jeff and I tell you guys every week. We're doing this Thursday when we throw these numbers out. Some numbers will go up, some numbers will go down. Pay attention to which way they're going, and you can take advantage of those. All right, guys, when we come back, get the head-to-heads and our group matchups when we return on Gone Racin'. Want to rewatch any part of today's show or any past show? Check out the Gone Racin' podcast. It's free and available now at VSiN.com/podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We give you all the latest news, odds, and everything you need to know to head to the betting counter before each NASCAR Cup race. The Gone Racin' podcast is free and available now, VSiN.com/podcasts. While you're there, catch up on all your favorite VSiN shows as well, and many of them that include my favorite man right next to me, Mr. Vinny Magliulo, heading in for Jeff Motley on Gone Racin' today at the VSiN studio. And Vinny, we've been talking the Kwik Trip 250 at Road America, and we just got done. I love our. If you're a bettor and you're a fan, I'll tell you what, hanging out at the South Point book, the people we have running around here just on a daily basis is hilarious. But the stuff we talk about off the air about how bettors can learn different things and how operators work. I come from a family whose father. Our sports books, when everybody started talking about making sports books go nationwide, I go, why the hell would they do that? Our sports books, we get our butt kicked half the time. Although I love you and Jimmy and Chris, but we take risk. We love risk.
Listen.
This is the fun part of gambling to me. And I like risk.
That's an interesting point, an important point you bring up, because the house doesn't always win.
Nope.
And that's okay, because folks have to realize that they've got a chance and that they can win. And when they do win, that they come back and they do other things. And again, it's just not just about the sports, but my roots when I broke in, I was in the pit, and so here we are talking about risk and reward. Well, you know what? Sometimes it's reversed, and the lambs get the lions. But at the end of the day, it's all good, and the people have to win sometime, and that's okay.
Sports betting is fun. I've always loved the book. It's Dad's favorite thing. It's our favorite thing. And last week I did something that I don't normally do, and I got beat. I can't believe it. I lost a head-to-head. I rarely bet a head-to-head. I lost a head-to-head, and I lost. I mean, come on, you're killing me. This week, we got some fun numbers, though, on the head-to-heads. Yeah. And especially, I look right off the top of the head-to-head matchup, Chase Elliott minus 155 to Kyle Larson's 135. The two behemoths of our sport when it comes to road course racing in the last couple years. And you've got a 135 on Kyle Larson to Chase Elliott's 155. I think a lot of that is Chase's race last weekend. It's got, that momentum, that thing that says, ooh, but I do like Kyle Larson. That's on a head-to-head matchup, 135. That's the best return on a head-to-head I've seen forever, and I've got it on Kyle Larson. Hard for me to leave that laying out there, Vinny.
I like your thinking on this. Let's remember, I know Chase Elliott, again, he's
great.
The defending champ. He won last week. But he and Kyle Larson, they're 1 and 2 in the future prices, too, for this particular race, right? So, take that into consideration. Again, I go back to value. I'm not saying that he's going to win it, but if you're going to take a shot here, why would you put up 155 when you could put up 100 to win 135 and get back 235 with a guy that's really close head-to-head? So I would, in looking at that, to me, I would be more inclined to go with the plus 135. Doesn't mean it's going to win, but you're taking a price.
It's a 50-50 game here.
Well,
now you're back to a 50-50 game.
You've got the top two drivers in terms of what we posted for the race itself. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of value there, and I think we're going to see some action, particularly early, on Kyle Larson at plus 135.
I think that'll move. The rest of them on the head-to-heads, I mean, once again, not a lot of value. We talk value. Maybe Ross Chastain against Chase Elliott again. Ross has been running pretty well. But then you go from Ross Chastain plus 120 to a Ross Chastain minus 130 with Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex was the hottest thing in the sport on road courses for a couple years, has definitely faded as of late. Two top fives in the last 10 road course races. So, I mean, I don't dislike a lot of those, but just not a lot of bang for your buck, right? Even money's on a lot of these guys, minus 120s. Just nothing really fun out there to entice me to say this is what I want to bet, except for that run right off the bat.
What we've done here with these wagers too is create the games within the game, like other sports. I mean, the ultimate example is the Super Bowl, right? Brendan, when you look at the Super Bowl, where I remember the days when we had, if not even a dozen different ways to bet it. Of course, now there's hundreds of ways. It's a booklet, and so. The point I'm bringing up is this. Maybe you don't like a driver for the race itself on the future book. Or if you do, let's say your bankroll, you got a couple $100 that you want to put in this race. You don't put it just on one driver on the nose, right? You can sprinkle it around a little bit. And if there's, a wreck or whatever happens, car malfunction, whatever, driver doesn't finish, you're not done with the race. You've got opportunities within it. So look around, kind of budget yourself accordingly to where,
hedge your bets,
and then you can hedge
too.
them a lot of times too. So
I do a lot of my betting when we do this. I take a guy for a top three, but a different guy in a head-to-head in a group matchup.
Right.
You can do a lot of hedging, and that's one thing that it's especially when you get into groups, which we're going to get into now.
Yep.
A lot of room to hedge with groups where you can go. I can take a guy to win or a top three, then I can take a different guy in the group, get good numbers on both.
Spread it around.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Well, let's go to these next baskets. Then we have our first basket of Group A, which of course Chase Elliott. Wow, plus 190 to Kyle Larson 300, Ross Chastain 300, Martin Truex Jr. 330. Wow. I mean, you're going up against Kyle Larson, who once again. Let's talk about that. Head-to-head 135, Kyle Larson plus 300. Maybe I don't do the head-to-head. Maybe I jump on Kyle Larson just to win the group because I think that him or Chase are the two favorites, and I get a better return than I did taking the head-to-head matchup at 135.
Or would you consider taking almost 2-1 on Chase Elliott just to win the group? He doesn't have to win the race
once
either,
again,
right?
If I think it's down to him and Kyle Larson,
Right.
if I think it's him and Kyle Larson, I can get him at plus 190 here versus minus 155 on a head-to-head matchup.
There you go. You're going to skip the. You might go opposite there. You might take Larson into head-to-head, but you might take Elliott here. Now you're not going to win both of them, right? But you're still going to be in a plus situation, or you stay away from the other one like you talked about. All right, you don't want to make a bet that you're going to lose. But if you like Kyle Larson, like you're talking about, head-to-head against Elliott at plus 135. You know what? Take him at 3-1.
I had circled right here Kyle Larson at plus 135 head-to-head. Now we switch to the Group A, and I think that Ross and Martin are going to be good, but not as good as those two. I just scratched that back out. I'm going to jump into Group A and take Kyle Larson at plus 300. Gets me a better return. And now I'm not getting 135. I'm getting 3 for what I consider is the same bet. So that's a way, once again, use the numbers.
Sure.
Look at across all the boards to find your best way to make a bet.
Check all the prices across the board in all the aspects of it, and monitor the betting.
Board.
See
Where
the board
does it go?
because prices will change.
God, it's so fun having you because me and Motley say that all the time, but it's me and Motley. People don't think of us as, gaming. With you, it means a lot more when it comes from the guy that's been doing this for a living for 35 years. It's 40 years. It is the
guy that's gotten punished. The guy that had to learn all the expensive lessons.
The guy that learned the expensive lessons.
Okay,
he's learned them. Let's go on to Group B, and at Group B we have Daniel Suarez at 255, Ryan Blaney 275, AJ Allmendinger 275, and Austin Cindric 280. This is a tough group for me to handicap right here. Vinny, Daniel Suarez, the most recent winner. Ryan Blaney, not half bad on the road courses. I don't dislike Blaney on this, but then Dinger, who I do love on all road courses, and Cindric, who has such great back. To me, I got to put some of these. I can really look at the stock and just put a big X over. That's my X. I don't know if I can touch this one.
Yeah, I mean they're close because if you look again, there's a correlation to the future book too. You try to group these drivers to where they are. In terms of the future book to win the race outright. But if you're looking here, I mean, we mentioned in a previous segment AJ Allmendinger, and look, to me, here he is he's the long shot, one of the long shots in this group at 275, just ahead of Cindric. I mean, to me, I'd have to probably take a consideration there in terms of the price. But again, they're close. It's just not. It's a correlation.
There's not a value for me. It's if they're too tight on the. If you had them at 300, I might be enticed.
And it might get there.
But
the other thing is sometimes the best bet you make, you don't have to bet every one of them. That's the other thing. You can pass. Sometimes the best bet or the most important bet you make is the one that you don't. So I mean that's
wise words right
the
there.
one you don't make. And you don't have to bet every single one of them.
Well, here we go. Group C. This is another one that's kind of got some enticement in here. Kyle Busch at plus 190, Christopher Bell 285, Denny Hamlin 305, Joey Logano. That says 345. Look, I get Kyle Busch is really good, but man, Joey Logano. I mean, that's a hell of a number on Logano right there. I mean, that screams take me at 345 in a 4-man horse race.
I'm going to tell you,
he's good. He's a good road racer.
Daniel Suarez killed you last year, you said?
Yeah.
Every time I am on Gone Racing, I play Joey Logano.
And he burns you.
Now I guess I'm going to have to go with him again. I'm not going to do the Brendan Gaughan, Daniel Suarez. I'll stick with him.
You're sticking with him. I like that. I mean, that's just. But there's the example that we talked, Vinny, of enticing me to bet something. You got him at 345. The numbers may change. I think that number will go down as we get closer to the deal. So that's enticement to me. Kyle Busch, he's good. He's Kyle Busch, but I like that right there. All right, when we come back on Gone Racin', we'll finish up our groups, give you our props, give you our picks, and all that fun stuff. Welcome back in, everybody. Final segment here. Vinny Magliulo, Brendan Gaughan, Gone Racin'. We're doing the Kwik Trip 250 at Road America. And Vinny, we left off in our Group C. We're going right into Group D now, and you got another one of these groups that's a very tight group, hard to handicap. Kurt Busch, 270, Alex Bowman, 270, William Byron, 270, Tyler Reddick, 275. I can give you I remember I gave you the stat at the start of the show about William Byron and what I think about what he did at Road America last year. William Byron, 270. The problem is he's 270. It's an even stat group. There's no favorite and dog here, really. So I like William Byron, but I'm not getting a big chunk of change here. I'd rather go top 3 or head-to-head on it, or a win on him.
I think, for me, just looking at the prices, 3 270s and a 275, and it's just so balanced right there. There's nothing wrong. I think you're going to be able to find a better price, whether it's a head-to-head or another group. So, again.
And to me, he's miles on favorite.
Yeah.
So, I could
bet
double
every
down.
Group. Yeah.
I'm not getting the bang for my buck on that one. Bet a top 3, which I think he's so strong. Top 3 should be an easy bet. I get a 700 return instead of a 270. Let's go right into Group E. We got Kevin Harvick is your favorite at 240. I'm not sure why. Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher, 270, and Brad Keselowski, 315. This one, to me, sometimes Jeff and I do a thing, Vinny, where we kind of X out certain drivers to try to whittle this field down. Well, Kevin Harvick's been strong. He's in Group E, though. He's not in Group A and B, like you said. He's how the mighty have fallen. But I can take out Brad Keselowski at 315. I think this is a Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher head-to-head at 270s each. You bring up a good point. When you're handicapping a horse race too, it's not just about picking a winner. You kind of, if it's a big field, especially, you're starting to knock out who am I going to throw out. But here you have a situation. Again, this is a great example of what we talked about earlier. Also, Brendan, is how the mighty have fallen in terms of Harvick and Keselowski were at, they were flipped. They're towards the bottom of the future book in this particular race. And now you have Group E with these, and look at their prices. With Keselowski at 50 to 1, we're not used to seeing that, in previous years. But I'm with you. I think, you probably narrow it down. You knock out the top and the bottom there in Harvick and Keselowski and make your decision between Briscoe and Buescher. That's my theory on it. Group F, guys that we don't normally get a lot of talk about, which is what Group F is great about. Todd Gilliland, 265. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 270. Bubba Wallace, 270. Harrison Burton, 280. What I'm going to tell you is I did a stat last road course on Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and I'll throw that out there real quick for you. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on Road Racin', average finish at 21.9 last 10 races. In his career, he is not known to be a great road racer, doesn't like them. I think Bubba Wallace, honestly, is probably the best of those right there. The Toyotas have run the best. Bubba's had a couple good runs on road courses. Didn't always get the finish there, but has had some good runs. So, to me, if I'm going Group F, I'm going Bubba Wallace, but it's a hard one to handicap.
Yeah, it's probably a pass for me. And again, like I said, sometimes the best bet is the one you don't make. And again, you've got enough groups here, 6 of them in terms of the 4 driver groups. So, you know what? Just look around. But again, hey, who knows? So you may see a spike in somebody there that Stenhouse may go up to 3 to 1. That might change your mind.
All right, we got our props that we always have, and we'll jump into the Chevy props. And Vinny, every week I say the Chevy prop is the toughest prop in the world to take because there's so many Chevys, and they're all pretty much favorites. Chase Elliott, 240 is the top Chevy. Kyle Larson, 350. Ross Chastain, 400. Daniel Suarez, 900. Tyler Reddick, William Byron, both at 15. Then you got the bigger shots. Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, 50s. Then huge ones, 250s on Justin Haley, Ricky Stenhouse. Those aren't going to happen. We talked about some of the – once again, the Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott thing. Chase the money. Mm-hmm. Well, now I got a 350 on Kyle Larson. If I think he's the favorite and going to win the race, I have him at 300 in a group. I can jump in the top Chevy, get another 50 points out of it, and he doesn't even have to win the race or win that group that I was picking him in because that group had a couple other cars from a couple other manufacturers. It had a Toyota in it. So maybe I jump off the Group A and I go into the top Chevy and pick Kyle Larson 350, and I've just increased my number threefold.
Yeah, same thing with Ross Chastain at 4 to 1. We're talking about how this young man has is having a terrific season, and number 2 right now in the overall standings, and you get him at 4 to 1. So for me, that's something that I would consider.
All right, let's go to the top Ford. A lot of Fords at this one that they have listed in here. Ryan Blaney, 290. Austin Cindric, 350. Joey Logano, 400. Chase Briscoe, 650. Harvick at 8. Buescher at 9. Michael McDowell, 15 to 1. Cole Custer, 30. Brad Keselowski, 30. The one that intrigues me there is Michael McDowell. He could be the top Ford here. I got to tell you. McDowell could do it.
At 15 to 1.
Yeah,
well,
he
again,
could do it.
You're looking at a double digits, and if you like them, and if you're leaning that way, in the Ford group, well, then take a price, right? I mean,
I'm not against it. I mean, to win the race, he was 50 to 1. ISB is the top Ford, 15 to 1. That's a good number. I think he could do it. He was the top Ford at Sonoma too. So I'm not against that one. The top Toyota, which is one that people bet a lot, and mainly because there's 6 in the field. So you get a little bit easier return. Kyle Busch, 240. Martin Truex, 270. Denny Hamlin, 350. Christopher Bell, 400. Kurt Busch, 900. Bubba Wallace, 100 to 1. Bubba's got to do something, man. That's the same race team. They're together. You're going from a plus 900 to a 100 to 1. To make the number look the same for everybody, that's 9 to 1 to 100 to 1. I mean, that's a massive spread. That's a story for another show. But Christopher Bell, 4 to 1. I mean, Kyle Busch, we feel pretty good. He's going to be probably the top Chevy there, but Martin Truex has been. Just a tough one for me this week.
Well, I mean, again, I try to compare these prices to what the drivers are to win the race, right? And when you look at it, obviously, Martin Truex at 10 to 1 for the race. But he's 350 here. I'd probably try to take a chance, maybe on 50 bucks more at 4 to 1 on Christopher Bell.
I can't knock that theory there, Mr. Magliulo, sir. All right, those are our bets for the week. Let's talk about how we did last week. Somebody, as we started at the top of the show, ended up betting Chase Elliott to win. I was pretty darn happy. Got me a nice little return. Everybody had a winner. Chase Elliott Group B for Motley, and Chase Elliott Group B also for the pit crew. So, didn't shake the standings up, just got me back into the world that I'm tightening back up again. I'm on the seesaw. I'm up and down, Vinny. I take a lot of swings. I take big home run cuts. Let's just say that.
Bookmaker's dream.
I am too. I am the bookmaker's dream. I swing for the fence and I swing hard. But as we do on the show, we always start from worst to first. And since Vinny is the guest, I'll let Vinny go. We'll put him in there before Jeff. But I am worst on the season, so I will start with me. And I'm going to start with one to win. I'm going William Byron. I've talked about him on the show so much today. I am going 25 to 1. I'm taking a big long shot to win, but I like him to win that race. I'm going top threes after that. I'm going A.J. Allmendinger at plus 500. I like that return for the dinger. Then I'm going to go 2 group matchups. Joey Logano at 345 and Chase Briscoe at 270. That's Group C and Group E. And then I've scratched out 3 bets. I have gone from Kyle Larson in a head-to-head, scratched that out, went to Kyle Larson in Group A, scratched that out, Kyle Larson to be the top Chevrolet at 350.
All right.
So I'm getting the best return on that one, so I hope Kyle Larson can bring me that back. Then we'll go into our friend, the pit crew's picks. Chase Elliott to win at 500, Daniel Suarez top 3 at 400, Kyle Busch Group C at 190. They're going with the favorite in the group there. William Byron Group D, they liked apparently what I said, 270. And then Brad Keselowski to win Group E at 315. Good luck on that, my friends.
Well,
Mr. Magliulo, what say you, sir?
Well, I'll tell you what. I talked about how the young man, Ross Chastain, has climbed not only in terms of the standings, but has also climbed in terms of the odds. So I'll take a chance on Ross Chastain at 8 to 1. I might be able to. Maybe I'll even get a little 10 to 1 as we get closer to race time. I'll go to Group C. And I'll go to Joey Logano because, again, every time I'm on the show, I pick Joey Logano to do something, whether it's a head-to-head or a group, and I'm not jumping off the bandwagon. I know what happened with you and Suarez last year. So that'll be there. I like, for the top Chevy, I'm going to go with Ross Chastain again. So I'm kind of all in on Ross Chastain. I'll take him at 4 to 1. Top Toyota, I'll take a chance on Christopher Bell in that one as well. So do I have more picks to make? One more? All right. Let me go to let's go to another group. How about this one? All right. I'm going to double down on the top Ford. Logano.
There you go.
I got you in 2.
All right. And Mr. Motley's picks, he phoned them into us from long distance here. Mr. Motley has Kyle Larson in Group A. I like that pick. He's got Dinger in Group B. We've also said we like that pick. Kurt Busch in Group D at plus 270. Harvick in Group E. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in Group F. Kind of impressive. We got an eclectic group we got going today on all of our picks. We got about 25, 30 seconds left. Mr. Magliulo, thank you very much for being here with me today, sir.
Love being with you, Brendan and Jeff, when I have the opportunity. So hope he's having a great time, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Best to everybody out there.
No, we appreciate you guys joining us this week for our recap of Nashville and the Kwik Trip 300. We will see you next week when we talk about, I forgot what next week's race is already. That's how good I am. We'll see you guys next week, guys.